I think in the near future, we're going to be sick of our guest.
That's impossible. I mean, it's what? Once you hear who it is, there's just no way.
Yeah. We're moving a lot closer to him, like a lot.
Like stalkers. Hey everybody, welcome to the Going Analog podcast, where board game industry guests bring different games and topics to discuss. I'm your host, Christina, and it's 2025. You know, those games of 2024, they are done. You know, we gave them their rewards, so if you haven't heard, we had our 2024 Game of the Year awards in our last episode, so give that a check. But yeah, we're never going to touch them again. It's 2025 now. Yeah. Right? That's how it works. So we're all about the new games, and who would know better than a stand-up comedian, board game content creator, game designer, all-around great friend, Grant Lyon of Grant's Game Rex. Hi, Grant.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
Yay! As he so cleverly named his channel, Grant makes really great, snappy recommendations that you can find on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Plus, he has a really hilarious stand-up special that's out from Dry Bar Comedy, also on YouTube. And he somehow had the time to recently design I'm Kind of a Big Deal party game. So lots of stuff. Hey, Grant.
Hey, yeah. Thank you. You really gave the laundry list. I appreciate it.
I know. I just like hearing myself talk a lot.
Yeah. Hey, I like hearing you talk about me, you know. So it works out.
And Grant was last on the show almost exactly a year ago, because I was looking it up. And then every year when we do our Game of the Year awards, we have a different content creator come on and share their games of the year. And then you were our last year. So you were on our 2023 Games of the Year.
Okay, nice. Right on.
So you've moved up to like previews of 2025 this year.
Yeah.
So we will definitely be talking about today. But what is your topic for today also?
Also, we're just going to talk a little bit about like social media and where board game content is headed on social media. Obviously, there's been a lot of ups and downs recently with TikTok and stuff like that. So I think it's a topic on hand for a lot of people in the board game community.
For sure. And Shu's here also. Shu.
Hi.
Pay attention. No,
our big topic, of course, is the 2025 preview. Just what are we excited about 2025? It could go beyond games, but mainly we're going to focus on what cool games we're excited about.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be weird if somebody came onto this podcast and was like, I'm really excited to bake some cookies. All right, well, that's cool.
I am.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to move. As we were kind of alluding to at the start of this, we are moving to LA from Orange County. So for the rest of the world, that doesn't seem like a big move. And in distance-wise, it's not. But traffic-wise, it's a tremendous deal. My current day job commute can take up to 2.5 hours one way. So we'll be within a half hour.
It's like when I come to game at your house, if you invite me on Friday, nope. But if you invite me on Saturday or Sunday, I'll be there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just like you have to time it for when there's no traffic.
Yeah, now we could see, you said we're going to be about 15 minutes away from you or so, roughly. So
you will be closer to me than almost any other like LA content creator. A lot of other LA content creators are like in Burbank or the Valley or Hollywood or things like that. So I'm going to monopolize your time for sure.
It's still bizarre to me how spread out LA is. I'm sure the rest of the world thinks it's all LA. Like, how far can you be from each other? But yeah, you could be over an hour away and still be in the same city.
One time I was at a Dodgers game with a buddy of mine, and there was a woman sitting next to me who was by herself. We started chatting, and we were hitting it off. You know what I mean? And she loves the Dodgers and comes to games all the times. And we were like flirting, and it was like there was a vibe. And then I was like, "Where do you live?" And she goes, "Santa Clarita." And I was like, "All right, enjoy the game." Conversation over.
You might as well be in another state.
Yeah, honestly.
You're like, I'm not doing these long distance relationships.
Yep, for sure.
And to bring it back to gaming, let's talk about a game that we've recently played. Want to talk about whatever? You want to start, Shu?
Yeah, so our game pick for this episode is Andromeda's Edge. I'm going to pretend... So if you're watching on video, you can see this box.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know this. I think. Did you get to play this yet, Grant?
I have played it twice, and I have a funny story about it too. But you continue first.
Cool. Yeah, so this is by Cardboard Alchemy, and then we got the deluxe edition. We actually, full disclosure, they gave us this copy. Originally, we were like, because the founder, Cardboard Alchemy, Peter Vaughn, came over to my birthday game party because he's also a local LA guy. Sure. And then I asked, hey, can we borrow this? Because this is probably one of the biggest games left on our list that we haven't played for 2024. Sure. And then he's like, I have a Dig and Dent copy. I'm just going to give to you. So
perfect.
Got to play it. The first game took a long time because I rushed in my friends were coming over. We had 2 people coming over. And it was like literally up until they walked up to the door, I was still reading the rules and setting it up. And it wasn't like a good learn from me as the teacher. Sure. But so we got through it. And then it's an epic game. It's a follow up to Dwellings of Everdale. Did I say it right? Elderdale. I always get that part. And then it's space themed, and the idea is you're in Andromeda, the galaxy Andromeda, and you're exploring different territories. You go out
the edge of Andromeda
near this nebula. And then throughout the game, you're going to be sending out ships to explore different territories, but you could get into conflict with people, and then you roll some dice, and then you can improve your ship so you could like in some ways, if you played games like Eclipse, it's sort of like a much more streamlined version of games like that. So you're exploring, you're sending out ships, you might do some combat, you improve the blueprints of your ships, different factions have different powers, and then you start to establish these sort of bases on the map. They will provide more power to the surrounding areas. It's overall like super cool sort of 4X style. I wouldn't say it's a full 4X game like the aforementioned Eclipse, but it's a really cool space game. And if you like rolling dice and kind of combat, you have to kind of like that part of the game because similar
there's certainly a lot of conflict in it.
Yeah. Because unlike like Eclipse has dice, right? But this one, it's like you can go on an unlucky, like our friend Keith was just rolling terribly. And so in the beginning, he had such a slow start. Luckily, he's very patient and not a sore loser or anything like that. But we're almost laughing. And then every time we had to have neutral ships roll dice, we was like, Keith, you roll for us. So then we would, and it worked. Like, he would just roll terribly.
Even for the neutral ones?
Yeah. So we're like, if we wanted the rest of us wanted a chance to win, we would let Keith roll. But yeah, it's such a nice, it's like a huge package. The deluxe edition is so well made, and then you go and
There's
explore.
There's a lot of amazing stuff in it. Yeah,
it's like packed.
All the different bad guys and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of replayability in terms of stuff to explore.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's ways to ameliorate bad dice rolls, because didn't Keith come back and win?
I don't remember. I didn't win. That's for sure.
I think Keith won.
So it's not that you get to like re-roll dice, for example, but there are things you can do to roll more dice for it. And this combat's super simple. Like, I really like this style of combat. The idea is that you're comparing a bunch of different dice. You roll dice, and then like if I'm going against Grant, what's my highest number versus what's his highest number? And if those are tied, we go to the next dice and then the next dice and so on. So the way you do better or get better at the game is you roll more dice. So either with more powerful ships, technology for those ships, certain powers, you can spend energy to get more dice and such. So you can get more dice, but it caps out at 6. So then it's never too cumbersome and too bulky. And then you could get targeting, which improves your minimum roll. So if I had a targeting of 3, that means anything lower than 3, I get to re-roll. So Keith eventually got to a point where he was targeting 5, which meant he's only
going to get 6s. Yeah.
5s and 6s, right? Yeah. So like 5 is the minimum. That means 1 through 4 he re-rolls, which will really likely give you an incredible roll. So, but you can just go for a more economy-based type win condition. There's a bunch of different combos. Like, so I had a thing of like, I'm going to go up really high on the supremacy track, which gave me more points for these certain types of buildings, the red buildings. And then I'm like, I'm just going to build all red buildings and stuff like that and get a lot of points. I didn't win again, but There's a lot of different ways to score, and it feels really rewarding. There's a lot of times where, as we were playing a game, there's like the exciting moments where we're like excited for the dice rolls, we're excited to see what happens, and then someone makes a good move, and everyone's like, "Ooh, that was really cool what you just did," because you just created all these different combinations, like the base building and such. So, really neat game. We didn't get to play it in time for our 2024 awards. We got to play it a little afterwards, but I really
still
enjoyed
haven't
this
played
one.
it. So.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll tell you, it's something I want to play again a bunch. So I played it 2.5 times, and it's been a very different experience both times, in the sense that the first time I played it, I had a really wonderful experience, partly because I played it with Peter Vaughn of Cardboard Alchemy, who taught me the game and, gave me pointers along the way, and I had a great time. And then the second time I played it was a much less enjoyable experience, not because of the game, but more just because of my own attitude with stuff. I will recommend that anybody who plays it, play it at your own house where you can set it up beforehand, because there is a ton of setup, and setup is a little bit overwhelming when you don't know the game already. So if you have time to do it, but my game group was like, bring it over here. And I was like, I don't think it's good. I think we should play this one at my house. And they were like, nah, it'll be fine. And then, I hadn't ever set it up before. And so then I was overwhelmed, and I'm trying to set it up, and they're just all like kind of waiting around. And it took me, probably 45 minutes to set it up for the very first time. And so then I'm already in like a bad mood, because I'm like, well, I got to set this up somewhere else. I told you guys to come play it at my house. And like, and then, there's just a lot going on in the game. So like, I was already annoyed, and then I got overwhelmed by trying to like teach it for the first time, and it was just like, it wasn't the greatest experience. And so, but I don't blame the game for that. I blame more
your
it's
friends.
just and also the reality of the situation. Like, I don't play a ton of heavy games. I would call this certainly medium plus, if not heavy, but this is heavier than most things I play. And so my lesson was, if I'm going to play something like this, it's gotta be on like where I can have it set up beforehand, where I'm not like overwhelmed, where I'm not like, you got to set it up for success, and I did not do that in the second play.
Yeah, you got to do it on your turn. I totally agree, because that one play that we played, it was I tried to set it up ahead of time, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't time this well. With like the whole thing, like learning the game, setting it up. I'm like, and then this was the time everyone was showing up, and I actually texted them. I'm like, hey, I need another half hour. I didn't tell them why, but they knew why.
And I was just trolling you the whole time.
Christina was like, you're really gonna learn this in time? I'm like, yep.
I was like, you're gonna switch to just playing Flip 7 8 times in a row.
Yeah. So, so there's definitely that barrier of entry, like the number of components, setting it up, and how big the game is, and then learning it at the same time. It's a chunky rule book, but it's not, again, compared to like an Eclipse or Twilight Imperium, and that kind of genre of 4X style, really epic space games, it's much more streamlined than either of those games.
I would say what you're doing in the game is never that hard. There's just a lot of different things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I was excited. We were all excited. As soon as we were done, I'm like, I want to play this again, especially while the rules are fresh. I don't know if I'm going to get to it because our weekends are so busy, but I'm like already trying to plan for the next time I could play this game. It's really cool.
I would like to play it again as well. So
all right, let's do it.
Ooh, I'll be the one get stressed out, and I'll learn it for no reason.
Now the question is, who's home?
Yeah.
Grant's turns or our terms?
And Grant's game to highlight too. What did you want to talk about today?
So for all the people out there that have had stuff stuck on your shelf of shame, this is my inspirational story. I finally played Dice Throne for the first time ever. I bought Dice Throne Season 1 Rerolled was the last game I think I bought before the pandemic, before everything shut down. And you would think that, 2-player game, this is perfect for the pandemic. But for whatever reason, I just got like a mental block with it. I just was like, this is a game I bought back when the world was normal, and now the world isn't normal, and I can't go back, and stuff like that. And so I think I bought it at like the end of February 2020, and I just played it for the first time in January 2025.
Wow.
So 5 years later, I finally got it to the table.
What prompted it coming out finally?
So part of it was I was hanging out. I've got family that lives up in Oregon where Chaz Marler of Watch It Played is. And so I was hanging out with him, and we were just talking about games, and I told him this story, and he was like, I got a bunch of dice thrown. I'm teaching it to you tonight. So it took somebody else helping me get past that block. And so I played Marvel Dice Throne with Chaz, and then I have the season 1 re-rolled, and so then I came back and I was like, this is, it's basically the same game, but with different characters and stuff like that. So then I have played my copy of it now too. I don't have the Marvel one, but it's and for anybody that doesn't know out there, it is a sort of dice combat, head-to-head Yahtzee style dice rolling game, but with a lot of asymmetric abilities and powers, and it certainly has a decent amount of luck involved with the dice rolling. There's dice rolling at its center, but it's just fun to learn the different characters and figure out cool stuff to do. Like the first time I played, you have this one ultimate power, and I never got to use my ultimate power the first time I played, but I actually was playing last night and I used my ultimate power for the very first time. So that felt good, and stuff.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dice. So I bought the original Dice Throne, then I upgraded to the season 1 reroll. I got season 2 rerolls, and then we got Marvel Dice Throne. Eventually, those boxes are so huge. I'm like, I don't know if I'll play.
The art's amazing.
Yeah, the art's really fantastic.
And the component quality is amazing too. And yes, you are paying for a huge box, but I do love all the it's so easy to. For how much stuff there is in the game, it's probably the quickest setup of any game with the amount of components that it has.
Yeah, because inside that giant box are little trays of like, what character do you want? You get that character, you just get that tray. Everything you need is in that tray. The cards, the dice, the components. But I got rid of my season 1 and 2 because these are just characters that Roxley created for their own game. Yeah. Like there's like a samurai, there's a cowgirl.
I played as the moon elf last night.
Yeah. And they're all cool, but I think the Marvel one was done so well because it's so thematic to the character. Like Loki is a trickster, and then Spider-Man can whip up enemies.
You can throw your hammer and stuff. Yeah, I mean,
and catch back. Yeah. It's like or Black Panther has a suit that could absorb attacks and then release all the energy in a counter attack. So it's so thematic to characters that I already know and are fans of from comic books and movies and stuff. I'm like, I don't know if I would play the normal ones, and I needed the space back, so I got rid of the old ones.
I could totally understand what you're saying. Obviously I've played both of those 2 ones in the last few weeks, and I agree that like Marvel Dice Throne maybe sticks with you a little bit longer if you like Marvel stuff, because I do know the characters, and it's fun to go, I see why they did that for this character, because that connects.
Yeah. And then they're coming out with the X-Men one as well. So, and those are my favorite of the Marvel characters. So
Me too. Big time.
Between Marvel and X-Men, I'll have everything covered. So I'll save the space. But I don't know. Do you know this, Grant? If they ever said that their old Dice Throne characters work with the Marvel ones? Are they balanced accordingly? That you can have a fair fight?
I think so. I think the idea is that you can play. Obviously, that they did the re-rolled one to tweak some stuff, But I think if you have the re-rolled version of season 1, then yes, that I think that they can mix and match. Because there are some other ones where you can't do that. Like you can't play Marvel Zombies and Zombicide to get those have enough decent stuff, but I think in this case you can cross.
We'll do it.
It's the same system.
We'll do his season 1 rerolled versus our Marvel.
Yeah.
All right, and so now let's move on to what we're here for. We're going to talk about games for this coming year, 2025, and who wants to start? Well, actually, Grant should probably start with at least one game. He has a huge list and a great video you can already watch of his top most anticipated games. So what is at the top of your list?
I even split I did 2 videos. I did my most anticipated games that I've already played, like in prototype form, and then my most hyped list are games that I haven't played full versions. So I'll tell you the game that I haven't played a full version that I am probably the most excited for is the game Layers. From Kids Table Board Games. Part of it is because, I play a lot of games with casual people, with non-gamers and that sort of stuff. And so whenever you can sort of compare a new game to a classic game, I think it really helps get people involved. And Layers to me is kind of like Battleship. Everybody knows the game Battleship. So in Layers, you are creating something behind a privacy screen and then doing something based on what's behind your opponent's privacy screen. And in Layers, we're not using battleships. We are creating a dungeon. You are literally sort of putting walls, putting monsters, putting traps, putting an exit, and you are building a dungeon behind a privacy screen and then moving through the other player's dungeon. And you're like, okay, I've hit a wall there, and you're kind of keeping track on notes on your own side and going, okay, there's a trap there, I need to get there, and you're trying to find some treasure and find the exit before the other person. And I think it's just it's a great 2-player game. I think 2-player games are really hot right now. People are realizing that a 2-player game I can play after I put my kids to bed and stuff with my partner. And so I think this is going to be a great 2-player game, and it's going to be one of those ones that has enough strategy and decision making to be interesting, but still plays in 45 minutes, which I love. So yeah, that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, we played that at Gen Con this last year, an early copy. And then so it was a really neat, the concept is just so cool. Like you said, it's really simple to kind of wrap your head around what you're supposed to do in this game. It's who hasn't thought about exploring a dungeon? And even if you've never played a D&D, you don't need that kind of knowledge. It's just keep moving around this maze and trying to find things and map it out as you go along. And it reminded me of as a kid playing D&D or computer games like Bard's Tale, back before we had mapping inside the video games, where I literally took graph paper and was okay, here's a wall, here's a
aging
hallway.
Yourself now.
I know. So, it's a very cool idea.
Yeah.
And you shoot.
Okay, the first one on my list, I put the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game.
And that comes out here in January, so you don't even have to wait that long for it.
Yeah, I think it actually might have just released, so it's sort of it's not upcoming, but it is a 2025 game.
It is a 2025 game. It came out in January. Yep.
Yeah, so we actually know the studio head, Mike Hummel of Office Dog, because he used to work at where I used to work at Blizzard Games, and we knew each other then, and then so he was he would sometimes bring games over to kind of get our feedback, and then so this was one of them that we played months ago. This is basically, if you know the trick-taking game The Crew, it's basically exactly that in Lord of the Rings forms, with the story, with different characters that come in, with characters that have different rules around them. So the idea is trick-taking games like Heart Source and such, where you play a card, you follow suit and such, but you're all working cooperatively to get through these missions. And then you might have different characters that might say, Christina and I have to trade cards, or one of us will play the card.
No, that's the next one.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. Oh, crap. You're right.
The Fellowship one, I haven't played it at all, but I'm excited to play it. Just because you mentioned The Crew, and I think it's obviously getting compared to The Crew a lot, but in The Crew you have set objectives for every mission, and everybody's trying to do that objective. But in the Fellowship one, each player has a different objective kind of each round based on the character that you choose. So we're all kind of doing Yeah.
Yeah, and based on the narrative of the Fellowship of the Ring, like, this is when they are traveling to the Prancing Pony. This is when they're going to go through, these obstacles and stuff like that. And it's done really well, I think, because
I really
your
want to play
objectives
it.
change. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a campaign game. It's a type of game similar to the Crew where get your core group of players together and you're just going to play through this thing. But like the Crew, each mission is short, right? You're going to fail a bunch, inevitably.
We never failed. No, we did. A lot.
Yeah, there's going to be times where it's just the ways the cards are dealt, but then it's like, you just spent less than 5 minutes, or not 5 minutes, maybe around 5-7 minutes on one round. Didn't work out, deal them out, play it again, and give it another try. So it's a really good upgrade to the Crew. So if you're a fan of the Crew, go check this one out.
Yes.
Nice.
Everything's coming up Lord of the Rings because
that is true.
and in a good way, right? I love it, so I'm okay with that. But I am also looking forward to just announce the Lord of the Rings Fate of the Fellowship by Matt Leacock and Z-Man Games, and it's basically, according to our friend Mike Hummel, who of course is doing a great job talking up his own games, but he's like, this is Matt Leacock's tour de force. It's going to be his masterpiece, sort of update on Pandemic, but in the world of Lord of the Rings. So I really loved Pandemic and what happened with Pandemic Legacy, and applying that to Lord of the Rings, like, super geeking out. So I don't know a ton about it, but I'm super excited to play it. So yeah.
Nice.
That was the one we played?
We haven't played that yet. No.
Maybe I played it?
Maybe.
Then without you?
This is not interesting.
Controversy.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I'm
like,
excited for the full game, so whatever.
that's like Board Gamers' version of cheating. We don't cheat on our partners with other people. We cheat on them by playing games without them.
That's happening.
Yeah, this last night she had a game.
Andromeda's Edge right here.
Why'd you bring this up, Grant? Okay. How about you, Grant? Do you have another one?
Well, boy, I didn't mean to make this an office dog celebration party. But legitimately, the number 2 on my list of like the most hyped games of the year I haven't played yet was Crafting the Cosmos from Office Dog Games. It's kind of weird. We've just gone around here. But Crafting the Cosmos is, look, I'm a sucker for table presence. The table presence of it is incredible. You are moving these marbles that are representing different elements around the board, and that will help you gain resources, and then you are using those resources to build stuff on your own player board. And there's like pattern matching and sort of, I don't know exactly how it all plays, but there's actual real science in it where you're trying to get these certain elements. I need hydrogen and I need nitrogen and I need this around this planet to make it like an established planet. And so, yeah, I mean, it just looks really cool. It looks gorgeous on the table, so I'm excited to play it. It's the type of game that, like, yeah, someone walking by will be like, oh, dang. Like, yeah, what is this? Yeah.
We played the uglier version of it as a prototype, but it was fun. I mean, like, I love the science behind it, too. So
Yeah, sure.
I'm excited to see how the final thing ends up looking.
Yeah, I mean, I got to see the final version at PAX Unplugged, and it is gorgeous, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Shu, next one for you.
Next one, I'm going to go with Azul Duel. I like Azul. I saw a video of a Grant that you put out for Azul recently, saying that was one of the games that really got you into the hobby. Azul, tile drafting game, and then you're placing these tiles on your board. There's different Azuls. I think there's like 4 or 5 different ones now. But for me, so a lot of the game, it can be really mean because what happens is if you're stuck with certain choices and then you take those and you can't fit them on your board properly, like in the original Azul, those tiles fall to the floor, break, and are negative points. The second one, Azul game, the Stained Glass of Sintra, was especially cruel in this area. There's a lot of ways to get negative points, and you could just not score that well. I think those games are the best 2-player when you can plan for it and people know what you're getting into. So I haven't played Azul Duel, but I'm hoping you kind of capitalize that.
I would like to call this Azul. So Azul.
Azuel. Yeah. So if it's just two players and you could plan ahead of like, if I take this, I think Christine's going to take this, which will lead me to this, which will really screw her because this will be the last thing that she could take. That's my favorite part of Azul. So I'm hoping to get more of that in Azul.
And it does change some of the mechanisms for Azul. So it really makes it, this is obviously an established trend in the board game world right now. It's coming out with dual versions of games, and I am here for it. I think
they've been getting better and better.
Yes, I think a lot of them just make the game better. I will never play Splendor again. Splendor Duel is just a better game than Splendor. You know, I've been playing Isle of Cats Duel, and I've been loving that one. And you know, I think it probably is better than regular Isle of Cats. You know, it just makes the drafting mechanism a lot better for cards and cats. They're doing a lot of this stuff right now, and I think it's cool. I like that they're doing it.
Yeah, I think that my feeling on the dual trend is just like they take the opportunity to take the best parts of a good game that everyone already likes, because obviously it's a franchise now. And they're like, we're just going to take the best parts and really refine it or add the cool stuff to it. So it gives the opportunity to improve on the base game, but keep it tight at two players.
Yeah, it always makes it shorter, I think, because it's only two players. And then there's just more tension to it because you can follow it along better, I think, with just two players.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the dual games have been doing this thing where, like, take Splendor, for example. Splendor is a game that I liked a lot at once upon a time. I don't love it now because I feel like now when I play it, it's like I do the same strategy every time when I play Splendor. But a lot of these dual versions have added multiple paths to victory. And so now instead of just kind of winning in this one way, you could win in 3 different ways. And that makes the game so much more interesting because then you're responding in the moment to what tiles are coming out, what cards are coming out, what someone else is going for. You're like, oh, I thought I was going to go for this, but now they're kind of doing that, so I'm going to switch and go for this. I just like that multiple paths to victory.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to probably Galileo Galilei.
Ooh.
So it's a medium-heavy game? Not sure.
No, that's a heavy game.
Okay, yeah. I obviously have not played it yet, but it's by Thomas Holek, the designer of SETI, which was my favorite heavy game of last year. And I remember at BGG-Con, I was chatting with a friend, and he had played SETI. He was like, I really liked it, but Galileo Galilei was amazing, and it's from the same designer. Not out yet. We can't get it, but, I love this idea of old school science theme again, and the stars, but Galileo, and then everybody just says it's like super, super great. We were talking to Peter Vaughn, who'd played all of Tomas Holek's games, and he was like, that is his masterpiece. And
nice.
I was like,
all right.
Okay. I don't know. I got to play it. That's all I know.
They're expecting it to come out around March, April, so it won't be too long.
Have you played it?
I have not. I just looked it up, and they actually have it more medium weight than I would have expected. I thought it was heavier weight than. So I stand corrected. I would say it's more medium weight.
I looked it up recently. It was like a little bit less than weight of 3 on BGG.
That's what it is right now. Yeah, 2.95 right now on BGG.
So you'll play it with me.
I will play it. You're right. I got about a 3.3 in me, and after that, I tap out.
And so what else do you have looking forward to?
Well, so I've got a few other ones. So if we jump to sort of not my most anticipated that I haven't played, but ones that I have played, and I know you guys have played this one before too. I am super excited for more people to get to check out the game Everbloom. Everbloom would have been in my top 5 of the year for 2024 if it had come out that year. I played the prototype a bunch. That was one that I played it at Gamma Expo last year and then brought it to my game group and we played it. There are plenty of games in my game group. They are very nice to me and are willing to try different games with me. And so there are a lot of games that we play one night, and a lot of times we'll play it twice in a night, and then that's the only time I ever play it with the game group. Everbloom, I brought back maybe 3 or 4 times.
Wow. That's huge.
Stuff. So everybody really liked it, including me. It looks gorgeous. The way that you are doing area control, and this is interesting because I don't always love area control, and I wouldn't call this a pure area control game, which is one of the reasons I like it. You are putting out these little discs, and those discs are allowing you to put out pollinators to get different cards, and those cards are going to score you points in various ways for set collection. But losing cards is also important because then you get to move your pollinators over to this other area, and that helps you get points in other ways. So I like that you are actively trying to lose things and win things in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it like you said, it's gorgeous. I also appreciate it's not a pure nature-themed game. That's like there's a slight fantasy element to it.
Yeah, like I thought the creatures are animal-plant hybrids, I believe. Which look crazy and cool.
It's a world where sort of flora and fauna are intermingling, and the border between the two is blurred.
Blasphemy.
Because Christina will give me a hard time about this, but I'm kind of sick of nature-themed games.
I kind of get it. There's been so many.
But you're never sick of space. So what's with that?
I don't play nearly as many space games as there are nature games. And part of that is because Christina loves the nature games, and she'll get them all the time. And then the realistic ones are like, this is how trees work, and this is how things get pollinated, and here's how animals behave and stuff. And it's just like...
He's tired of it. He's tired of it. So, it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of area control, we played an early prototype of Silos by Reiner Knizia and by Wing Games.
I forgot about that already.
That was fantastic. Mm-hmm. It kind of reminded me a little bit... What game did it remind me of? I don't remember, but very simple. It's like a kind of classic retro UFO themed game, like with the big Martian aliens, 80s. Kind of 80s style, where an alien UFOs are capturing cows and things like that. But it's really simple and streamlined and straightforward in terms of like, okay, I'm going to move some people here. Different areas might offer different powers. There's this giant UFO piece that kind of travels around the board. We'll talk more about it later, and we talked more about it in the past, so I won't get too much into it, but it's a great kind of light medium weight area control game that I'm same as you, Grant. I'm like not necessarily the biggest area control fan, but I like this one. It reminds me of, I remember what it was. One of my favorite games of all time, El Grande. It reminds me of like a more thematic, shorter, streamlined version of that game. Okay. In terms of like, there are elements of like, oh, this kind of reminds me of the good parts of El Grande. So
cool.
And the pieces, there's like this fun little comedy on the way they skinned it. It's an older design of Knizia's, and then they like totally reskinned it. Yeah. And the pieces that you're playing, you are playing aliens trying to collect humans and cows, because cows are cooler than humans. But then they're like aliens disguised in really bad 80s human costumes. So that part is hilarious.
Yeah, they might be like 3 aliens stacked up when wearing a trench coat or something like that. And it's funny. Yeah, like thematically, the cows are the smart ones. So the aliens they're more valuable to capture for the aliens and stuff. So it's just a really fun game.
Yeah, this is one I saw you guys playing at a retreat that we went to, and it did look cool on the table, and it seemed it's one I want to try, because you said it's probably still in my wheelhouse, right? It's still medium weight.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah, it's not heavy at all.
It's real smooth.
Yeah. So I want to try this one as well.
And I am also looking forward to it, which I found out about recently because I'm behind on certain things, Beyond the Horizon, which is a follow-up to Beyond the Sun by Dennis K. Chan, but also designed by Matt Riddle, Ben Pinchback, and Adam Hill, whom I love doing a lot of like roll and write games and stuff like that. So they do a lot of comboing systems. And this is supposedly Beyond the Sun moved to a Civ development sort of setting instead, and you have a lot more of your own player board actions that combo in different ways. And instead of doing this tiny little exploration board in Beyond the Sun where you explore planets, there's a bigger exploration aspect to it as you're building up your civilization. I don't know too much about it. It's supposed to be a little bit crunchier than Beyond the Sun, but Beyond the Sun is one of my all-time favorites because I love a tech tree, and that game is like all tech tree. So that's what I want.
Nice.
Maybe one more game each.
I could just wrap mine up with like quick hitters.
Okay, quick hitters. Sure. Any other ones you want to highlight, Grant?
I will highlight. I'm cheating, but I'm gonna put these both sort of in the same heading because we're talking a little bit about trends, just sort of in the board game hobby. One of the trends being like the dual versions that are coming out. Another trend that I'm really liking a lot because I'm selfish and this is what I want selfishly is medium weight versions of heavyweight games. There are a lot of more sort of re-implementations of heavyweight games into medium weight versions. And two of those that are coming out that I've had a chance to sort of demo, not play full games of, but have liked a lot are the game Great Western Trail El Paso and the game House of Fado. So Great Western Trail El Paso is obviously the sort of medium weight version of Great Western Trail. I know, Christina, that you love Great Western Trail, yes. And it's not a game that I will ever play with you because I don't.
It's so good.
But I will play El Paso. And in El Paso, you're doing this sort of same thing. There's still like a rondel. You're moving around, gaining resources. You're getting cards into your hand that are representing different cows and cowboys. And there's just a lot of cool stuff in the game. But it is a version of Great Western Trail that plays in 60 to 90 minutes.
I hadn't heard of this one. We own all the Great Western Trails and expansions, the new versions.
This is coming up. There you go.
Yeah, I'm excited.
This is coming out this year, El Paso. And then House of Fado is essentially the medium weight version of Vital Lacerda's game, The Gallerist. So they've been doing medium weight versions of Lacerda games, like Bot Factory was a medium weight version of Kanban. This is the sort of medium weight version of The Gallerist, and worker placement, and it's got some bumping, where if you have a worker on a spot, someone else can come and bump you down to some other benefits. I really like this trend of medium weight versions of heavyweight games.
Oh, I didn't. That's really cool.
This is why we have them on. We don't
Lacerda games need that specifically. Yeah.
And quick hits for you, Shu.
Okay, in my rest of my list, I've listed Finspan because, Wingspan, Wormspan are all solid games. They're like great to teach to a lot of people. So I'm excited to see what Finspan does. This is like a fish version, like those other games you're collecting birds and dragons, respectively. This one now you're collecting fish. So curious to see what that's going to be about. Critter Kitchen is a worker placement game about running a kitchen. You're going out getting ingredients, putting dishes together, and you have three different chefs, if I remember right. Three different workers.
Yes. I've played Critter Kitchen a lot, and I can guarantee you it'll be in my top 10 of the year.
Yeah, it's I've only played on Tabletop Simulator, so virtually a prototype early copy, but it's I
played the physical one this last time. The pieces are amazing. It's so good.
It's a really cute game. Wandering Galaxy, we'll talk more about that because our copy's coming soon. This is the kind of space themed, a little bit Firefly themed follow up to Forgotten Waters from Plaid Hat Games. So
Freelancers.
Freelancers, that's right. Freelancers. Yeah, so they're sort of like they're story based games, but they're not campaign based. Like you play one session. They can Freelancers was a bit shorter, Forgotten Waters a bit longer, but you just play one session, the story's done. You run through a story, you go through on these different adventures with your party, and it's just fantastic writing they have. You can run all the narration through an app or through the web. Fantastic writing. They do the voices. They get professional actors and all this stuff. And you just get really immersed into this world. So we played a demo of Wandering Galaxy. Excited to play the final version.
And I will also say to those, just as a note to those people, some people, Forgotten Waters and Freelancers had maybe too much luck in them because there was a ton of dice rolling. Well, now Wandering Galaxy instead replaces the dice with deck building. So maybe a little bit less luck based. You can build your deck how you want to sort of get certain symbols and accomplish sort of tasks and objectives instead of just rolling dice.
Good point.
I always have such a big smile on my face playing those games and listening to the story and the writing and all that. So I'm excited about this.
They have ruined other storytelling games for me, to be honest. I don't want to open a book and read something when this is so well done and the voice acting is so great.
Yeah, I'm really curious to the financials behind this because like to record, to hire people to do this.
Sure.
It's the same person doing all the voices.
Board games don't make a lot of money, so I'm curious how these do. And then final last quick hitter is Dogs of War. There's a second edition coming out. I love Dogs of War, but it's a very weird looking game where the main pieces you're moving around are just these kind of fancy busts of characters from some old age, and they're all warmongers, like you're trying to get different influence over different areas to win. So the game, it wasn't ugly, it was just like weird and very brown and beigey, but there's a fantastic game behind it.
The game is so good. And it's not really full combat. You're not actually fighting.
Yeah,
you're influencing other fights. And so I like that take on it.
Yeah, so I'm curious. I don't know much about it, but I'm just excited to see what the second edition is about.
And my final one I wanted to mention, I was really interested. It's, I think, out on Kickstarter right now, The Treasure Ship of Jung-hee.
I don't know this one.
It's a design by Hisashi Hayashi, who's fantastic, did Yokohama, a bunch of really good games from Japan, and the theme is set in China, so I don't know if this is cultural appropriation, whatevs, but it looks really interesting. It's going to be a little resource management heavy, but the cover art, I think, was done by the lead animation director of Gundam Wing. This like old school, like classic sort of like anime thing. So it's very interesting pedigree. And Hisashi Hayashi, I really like his games. So I think I'm going to be finding out what that's about. Cool.
Yeah. A lot of games to look forward to this year. I mean, this is... I feel like board games are in a good spot where it's just every year just comes out with a bunch of bangers these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have any more quick ones you want to throw in there, Grant?
I mean, you can go watch my 2 videos on my most anticipated games. There's a bunch more that I have. I mean, when I made my list, my like short list for the 10 games that I was most hyped for, my short list was 25 games. And so, you know what I mean? Like, I'm excited for a lot of things. Yeah.
And so that leads me to where to find your videos for your recommendations. What do you use these days? Where is social media? You are obviously way up in the board game social media space. There was, of course, a TikTok outage recently, and did that change things for us on where we're posting things about board games?
So obviously it's been a little bit weird because TikTok was gone and then it came back fairly quickly, but nobody new can download TikTok. It's not in any of the app stores and stuff. So, I think that this is not a long-term solution right now. TikTok is in a gray area right now that will probably remain in a gray area for a while. And so I think it highlights the importance of diversifying the places. You can't have all your eggs in one basket. It just is... Social media is fickle, right? Like, I think all over the place, and people constantly shut down and start up, and so I'm not going to stop posting on TikTok. And and in fact, I already was very active on Reels and things like that. But it does make it, to me, important to have stuff in cross-posted platforms, and because like Instagram Reels is the sort of obvious alternative to TikTok in sort of how the platform works. But I also understand why someone wouldn't want to be on any meta platform as well. There are real concerns with that as well. And so, honestly, if you really want to support a creator, or you want to make sure that you get content for the creator, my recommendation would be find out if they have a newsletter, because email is never going away. And so they can let you know through their newsletter if, hey, I'm on Blue Sky now, and this is where I'm going to focus on my things will shift and change. So if you really like a content creator, try to find like a newsletter or something like that where you can find out how they are shifting with the changing of the winds.
Yeah. What about you, Shu? I know he was extremely addicted to TikTok. And so how is that affecting you?
I was actually looking forward to TikTok going away, just from a selfish, like, I'm going to gain so much time back in my life.
And that didn't
I'm going to be productive. Okay, that I got 24 hours of that. I'm like, I went back impulsively. I'm like checking TikTok, and it's like, TikTok's not available right now. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of like, I don't like, you've been released from prison in a way. What that must feel like. You go outside and you're like, oh, the sun's out, and then here's the sky, and then you hear birds and things like that. So
nature that you hate anyway.
That's right. So I had a brief moment of that, but I think it feels like, this is anecdotally, I don't have any data about this, but it feels like a lot of people, like when Twitter started trending downhill for people, I feel like Blue Sky picked up a lot of that because it's the closest, just in terms of layout, functionality. Blue Sky is really much closer to Twitter, more in X, more so than Threads, I think. So I mentioned to you, I asked you, Grant, because I think we were tagging you on something. I'm like, are you on Blue Sky? You're like, no, not yet. I'm like, go grab your name at least, or something.
I did. After you said I'm there now.
So I personally like Blue Sky as the first alternative, but we're in this weird situation where we haven't done TikTok. It's like our plan is eventually to put out clips of our quiz show onto TikTok and Reels. So we'll have that content so we can have more bite-sized bits of it rather than whole episodes.
Sure.
But also at the same time, like, to promote our show, social media is still the best way to get the word out about our content and for people to share that content. And unfortunately, like, I would love to get off philosophically and just personal reasons. I would love to just get off of X forever, get off of Facebook, Meta platforms forever, and then just support ones that I like, the owners or the founders and all that. But it's also like, well, we have the most engagement and followers on Twitter.
I mean, that's the hard thing, especially like as a content creator, when you become sort of dependent on content creation for your living, that you can shift, but you also kind of go with where you're finding the most audience, right? Because that's what helps you get your stuff out there. And so, it's a hard place to be right now. I don't know that, like, I'm at the point with like TikTok where I feel like it's 50-50. It might eventually go away forever, or it might eventually find a more long-term solution. And I don't know where it's going to go. So in the meantime, I'm going to keep trying to stay active on other platforms and keep letting people know to like follow me in other places.
Yeah. Would you do something like YouTube Shorts?
I do. I do YouTube Shorts all the time.
Got lots on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Show. Do your research.
I'm on TikTok. I don't know these other platforms.
I guess for me, I was never really a huge TikTok person anyway, but I was very much like, at least, consuming stuff on X and Twitter for board game stuff, at least. And
sure.
It was just sort of like, it was like that was where the icon was. I was on it. And then it just got worse and worse. So, like, I just replaced it with Blue Sky in the same spot. And now I'm, like, clicking through that. But there's a lot of people on the board game space on Blue Sky. So that's been, where there's a lot more engagement now, too. So that seemed to have grown a lot. And that's where I'm getting all my board game news now.
Nice. All right. Well, that's great to know. And I love with Blue Sky how you can sort of curate what you're interested in pretty easily there.
Yeah. And not get really gross ads all the time anymore. So we'll see how that develops. I'm still on Instagram just because I like that it's such a visual, quick thing, too.
Sure.
I don't know. Yeah. But we'll see where Grant ends up. You're everywhere right now, so we can't. So it's good. Yeah. It's good. And I saw you were starting. You did some podcasts with Chaz. Also, is that? Something?
Yeah. So we're doing like kind of like a morning show sort of thing together. So they're like 10 to 15 minute episodes. They come out 3 times a week, and they're game focused, but not like on specific games. It's more like, quick hit topics and just a lot of silliness and fun. So
where can we find that?
Well, I believe he's launching it in February. So it will be on Chaz's channel, which is Pair of Dice Paradise or Game Night picks. I think if you do either of those, but it'll be YouTube centric. And there'll be fun episodes. It is Chaz is the main host, and then I'm one of a few like rotating co-hosts for it. So Paula Deming will be one of the co-hosts, and some other people as well. So
very cool.
Yeah, how did you see that? Did he release like a teaser of it?
I may have seen it on Blue Sky when he announced it, so that's why.
I didn't even know he announced it, so when you brought it up, I was like, oh boy, I didn't even know.
You're like, I don't know where this will be.
Yeah,
Just show up. Cool. Thanks so much for joining us today, Grant. So now we talked about we can follow you on lots of places, and you're on Blue Sky now. And
yes,
your Instagram Reels, YouTube, currently TikTok still. Anything else we should look forward to for you coming out?
Well, definitely go check out my comedy special. It was behind a paywall for a little bit, but now it is on YouTube for free for anybody to go watch it. You can just put into YouTube. Silly Mustache Man is the name of the special, and it's like a 30-minute comedy special that I think you'll enjoy. I even threw a couple board game jokes in there for the board game community. Yeah. So thank you for watching it. Yeah, appreciate it.
Hope everybody enjoyed our show today. Thanks to our bestest editor, Mike Zipkin. And now is where I start nagging Shu to put up our board game quiz show from BGG Con, the slides, so that you can play along at home. We did it at BGG Con. We have been asked to do it every year now at BGG Con Fall. So we love putting it out, and I would like people to see it.
And wait, who won the live version?
No idea.
We do have a celebrity here with us. Yes. Grant was on the winning team of our late show. So
I only bring that up because I feel like it's the only time I've ever won at trivia, so I'm really holding on to it.
Yeah, and didn't you, because BGG works with a sponsor to provide prizes for everyone on the winning team. They're teams of 4. This is at BGG Con Fall in Dallas. And then, but you were like, I saw you, because you have so many games and you get so many games. I think you turned into a generous guy. It's like, hey, does anyone want these games? You ran it on other people.
I gave away all of my games, one to each different team that played. I don't think I had enough to give it to every team that was playing, but I gave it to I gave all of the winnings away to other teams.
Yay.
That was nice of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Grant makes it rain games.
I try.
Now everybody can stop listening and go play a game. Bye.
Bye.